Let's talk about a really common problem, one that so many entrepreneurs face but don't really talk about. What happens when your business gets so successful so fast that the success itself starts to break everything? When the very thing you've worked so hard for turns into this unmanageable beast. These are the words of a woman named Mama Chi, a super successful electronics trader in Lagos. In that one sentence, wow, it just gets right to the heart of our story today. See, she'd built this incredible business from one little shop to three whole branches. But that success was costing her in ways she was only just starting to figure out. So, what did this success trap actually look like on the ground? Well, just picture her main store during the morning rush. The counter is literally buried under stacks of notebooks, you've got customers getting angrier by the minute, and every single day feels like a war against your own growth. It was just pure, unfiltered chaos. And it's fascinating how this chaos showed up in real life. So, picture this. A customer storms in holding a broken TV he bought just last week. He wants a replacement and he wants it now. Mama Chi starts frantically flipping through this tattered, beat-up notebook trying to find the sale, but it's nowhere. Her sales boy, Chidi, he's pretty sure he wrote it down, but which page? Which book? The record is just gone, the customer is furious, and the whole business just looks completely unprofessional. Okay, so a moment later, another fire starts. A regular customer is demanding to know why his generator, which was promised for Tuesday, still hasn't shown up by Friday. Mama Chi needs to call the supplier, right? But she can't find his number. And why not? Because the one notebook with all her supplier contacts is sitting on her table at home. The entire business ground to a halt, all because a single piece of paper is in the wrong place. And just when you think it can't get any worse, her phone rings. It's the manager from her Ikeja branch. He's totally out of stock of a really popular phone, but he knows for a fact the Lekki branch has like 50 of them just sitting there. He asks, "Should I send someone to go get them?" And what's Mama Chi's response? "How many do we have in Lekki? I don't know." She has zero visibility, no control at all over her own stuff across her own stores. Now, it's right at this peak chaos moment that a consultant named Ken steps in. He's been standing in the corner, just watching all this unfold. And he's not just seeing the mess on the surface. Nope. He's there to expose the deep, invisible financial leaks, all the money bleeding out of the business because of this total dependence on paper and memory. He's about to show her the problems hiding in plain sight. So Ken just lays it all out for her. He says, look, with this system, you have no idea what your real profits are. You can't track who owes you money, which means people can just put off paying you forever. Worse, it makes employee theft way too easy, since cash can just vanish without a trace. And her accountant had already warned her. Those water-damaged, termite-eaten notebooks, they're a tax disaster waiting to happen. All while her competitors are getting stronger. And this comparison just drives the point home perfectly. Right across the street is her biggest rival, Al Haja Sofia, and she's absolutely thriving. Ken explains she's not smarter than you, Mama Chi. She's just systemized. While Mama Chi is running on pure guesswork and messy notebooks, which leads to nothing but stress, Al Haja Sofia is data-driven. She has a digital system, and that gives her control and growth. The difference couldn't be more clear. So here's the absolute bottom line. Mama Chi was fighting a modern war, but with ancient weapons. She was using tools meant for survival, a simple notebook and a pen, to manage a business that desperately needed tools designed for growth. And Ken was about to introduce her to one. He pulls out his phone and shows her an app called Digishoppa. And he makes it really clear, this isn't some super complicated, crazy expensive software from overseas. Nope, this was built right here in Nigeria for Nigerian businesses. It speaks their language, it uses their currency, and most importantly, it gets their specific problems. He quickly shows her exactly how it solves her morning from hell. Every single sale gets logged instantly, so that lost TV record, problem solved. All three of her branches are visible on one screen. Stock visibility problem? Solved. Customer debt gets tracked automatically, and every supplier's info is just one click away. It was a direct answer to every single crisis she had just faced. Now, of course, Mama Chi was skeptical. I mean, you would be too after doing things one way for 15 years. But she agreed to a one-week trial. She had absolutely no idea that what she was about to find out would completely change her life. The results were immediate. I mean, on the very first day, the system alerts her sales boy about a customer's old debt, stopping a bad sale right in its tracks. By day 3, that stock transfer that seemed impossible before, done in minutes. On day 5, a customer comes for a return, and she handles it with total confidence, pulling up the purchase history instantly. But the real shocker? That came on day 7. First thing, this system revealed she was owed 890,000 naira. Just out there, in outstanding credit. Her guess? She thought it was maybe around 300,000. The reality was nearly triple that. She had all this money floating around uncollected simply because she had no way to keep track of it. And then number 2, it found 450,000 naira worth of what's called dead stock. These are products that have been sitting on a shelf in one of her branches for over 6 months, just gathering dust. That's not just inventory, that's cash, tied up that she could have been using to buy things that actually sell. And then came the biggest number of all. Her actual revenue was 2.4 million naira. That's a third more than her own estimate of 1.8 million. Think about that. She was actually way more successful than she even realized, but all that success was just leaking away through 1,000 tiny, invisible holes. So she's just staring at the screen, seeing her business clearly for the very first time, and all she could say was this: "I've been running blind for 15 years. What a powerful, life-changing moment that must have been." And this newfound clarity, it wasn't just about numbers on a screen. No, it immediately changed how she operated her business day to day. She went from a position of weakness and constant confusion to one of strength and, finally, control. The perfect example is this customer, Mrs. Obi, who owed her money. Before, Mama Chi would have to rely on her memory and probably would have just said, next week is fine. But now, armed with actual data, she could look at her and say, "Mrs. Obi, you purchased this 75 days ago. You need to pay 40,000 naira today." And guess what happened? Mrs. Obi paid right then and there. Boom, control regained. Fast forward 6 months, the transformation is complete. The store's organized, the staff is accountable, the customers are happier. But it was so much bigger than that. As Mama Chi later told Ken, "You didn't just give me software, you gave me my life back." For the first time in years, she was actually sleeping through the night, spending time with her grandkids, because her business was no longer drowning her. And, Mama Chi's story is not a one-off. All across Nigeria, this exact shift from chaos to clarity is happening. You've got pharmacies using systems like this to track expiry dates, restaurants using them to figure out their most profitable dishes, and fashion boutiques finally getting a handle on their inventory. It's like a market-wide awakening. Which really brings us to the central argument. And this chart just says it all. The cost of a system, a few thousand naira a month, it's a tiny, known, manageable expense. But the cost of not knowing, the lost sales, the uncollected debts, the stolen cash, that is a massive, unknown, and potentially business-ending expense. So we'll just end with the same powerful question that Ken posed. The real question isn't whether you can afford to know your business inside and out. It's whether you can truly afford not to. How much are you, or the businesses that you know, losing every single month simply from not knowing?